Welcome, travelers, to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the anatomy of a Gothic nightmare, the Cursed Carriage. We're going to step right across the threshold, into the macabre, really digging into exactly how visual horror manages to get so deeply under our skin. Let's get right into it, shall we?
So, I have a question for you right off the bat. Would you board a carriage with absolutely no driver? I mean, think about it. It's the ultimate threshold question in Gothic horror. You're just standing there in the freezing fog, the wind is absolutely howling, and your only shelter is this empty, waiting cabin on wheels. Stepping inside? Well, that isn't just a physical movement, it's a complete psychological surrender. You are literally handing over control to the unknown.
Section 1. The Mysterious Carriage.
Okay, so our traveler takes a mysterious carriage, but right away, our instincts are being totally manipulated. Take a look at this solitary carriage waiting on that desolate, fog-drenched road, and pay special attention to that glowing orange lantern. Now, fun fact for you. In early 19th century Gothic literature, a sudden light in the darkness was almost always a harbinger of doom, not salvation. Usually, a light in the dark means warmth, safety, human presence. But here, against this oppressive, petrified landscape of dying branches, that lantern acts as a complete false beacon. It lures the traveler in, offering this temporary, claustrophobic little sanctuary that is actually the exact trap pulling you deeper into the wasteland.
Section 2. Through Haunted Gothic Streets. You see, the anxiety here really relies on the slow, totally inescapable passage of time. This timeline is essentially a map of an irreversible descent. At dusk, you board with just a tiny sliver of false hope. By midnight, you're rattling through these labyrinthine streets completely disoriented. And then by 3 a.m., the proverbial witching hour, you've reached the absolute heart of the cursed town. At this point, your isolation is complete.
As our traveler passes through haunted Gothic streets, notice how incredibly aggressive the architecture of fear actually is. You've got these looming spires slicing through the storm clouds, while twisted, dead branches literally choke the wet cobblestone path. It's like a giant puzzle designed to trap you. The cobblestones reflect this sickly yellow street lamp light, creating a super slick, treacherous surface. Even the buildings seem to lean inward. The environment itself is predatory, visually and physically trapping the traveler, making it crystal clear that all roads lead to doom, and there is simply no room to turn around.
Imagine finding and reading this entry from a lost traveler's journal. The fog swallows the sound of the hooves. There is only the rattle of wood and the absolute certainty that we are being watched. Wow. It is the perfect mix of sensory deprivation and intense paranoia. The heavy fog completely removes the outside world, isolating you entirely with just that claustrophobic rattling of the carriage. You can't see them, but you know for sure they are out there. Section 3. The Town Square Warnings.
Now, the contrast here is really what makes the big reveal so visceral. On one hand, you have this deceptively quiet, mundane village life, maybe soft light from a tavern, villagers gathering goods, but right beside it, the terrifying reality of the town is exposed. Under a torrential downpour, our traveler arrives in a town square where the dead are not buried. No, they are displayed as explicit, grotesque warnings in the rain to anyone foolish enough to arrive. That unnerving silhouette of a body suspended high above the muddy street, yeah, that leaves absolutely no doubt about your impending fate.
The architecture of this town was never, ever designed to welcome you. It was built to lure you, disorient you, and ultimately cage you. It is not a destination. It's a trap. And honestly, that's exactly why this trope hits us so incredibly hard. It preys on a very real, very human fear, the absolute terror of realizing we've just crossed a point of no return.
Section 4. Enter the Dark Labyrinth. So, as you step off the carriage and navigate this hostile maze, you run into the absolute cruelest irony of the Gothic genre. A rusted sign clearly reads, "Turn back now." But that lone ghostly figure waiting on the desolate, fog-soaked path confirms what we already secretly know. This is the ultimate wrong neighborhood scenario. And that explicit environmental warning, it comes way, way too late. You're totally isolated on a claustrophobic, dead-end road, and the nightmare is closing in fast. Desperate for shelter, you stumble indoors into a decaying, blood-stained room. And what do you see? The words, "I saw you," screaming massively across the peeling wallpaper. This just proves what the journal hinted at earlier, right? You were never alone. Whatever entity lives here has been tracking your every single step since you first boarded that carriage. Even the very walls of this realm are predatory.
Section 5. The Cursed Residence.
Now let's look at the permanent inhabitants. Here, a ghostly, white-gowned figure stands motionless, just staring out from a decaying asylum window. This resident is trapped in a permanent state of eternal decay. Actually, scratch that. They aren't just a monster waiting to attack. They are more like a tragic mirror. They just stand there, silently watching new travelers arrive, knowing exactly what fate awaits them. The inevitable fate of joining their permanent ranks.
You know, primal fear relies so heavily on what we can't see. In this suffocating, pitch-black corridor lined with peeling wallpaper, a stark, pale entity stands completely motionless right at the end. The heavy shadows literally squeeze your eyes directly toward the figure. There is nowhere to hide, no side doors to take. It completely forces you to confront the absolute horror head-on.
Well, we've mapped the carriage, the labyrinthine streets, the gruesome warnings, and the cursed residents. But as we reach the end of our journey in this explainer today, I want you to look closely into the dark reflections of your own room. Are you still watching them, or are they watching you?